bad yourself?
Surviving day by day.
One of the things that was said last time. Maggots of the entrepreneurship.
I know.
Society.
Absolutely. I'm looking for every compost heap I can find and diving in.
Oh, what a wonderful way to say it.
Tell me if you find any.
Right, have you been sent here for microphones? Lovely. Right. I think from what I remember you were fine last time, and I don't remember about yourself.
I've never done it before. So.
Well, there we go. Simple thing, slide it up, the light on the bottom will go green. That means that it's live. Slide it down, it's muted. Talk into it on the end. It's that simple. Just talk into the end.
Try and test it, see if it's always the...
Hello.
I feel really great with. Hello.
Lovely.
God, this is going to be very. Yeah, I love it.
No rude jokes?
Yeah.
So how is it? Doesn't matter how. I suppose how far.
It's always better to be closer to your mouth, and preferably not in front of your mouth, kind of about your chin, just because then you don't get all the plosives, your nasty P's and your B's and everything. So yeah, that's the main thing that I really wanted to get you, was just talking to the end, because some people talking to the side and it really doesn't work. Yeah. Or some people have even had holding it like here away from them, and it's like, well, that's really not doing anything. But yeah, there you go. That was all I wanted.
Well, that was hard work.
Where are you going to stand?
That's a good question. Are
I
we
don't
here
think we
or?
should sit.
We're not. I don't think we're even meant to sit. It's for the panelists, surely.
I kinda wanna
yeah.
Shout at my thing. Can I stand? Does this work as well?
That one's on. Yeah.
We don't want to lean in either.
No, well, we
Hello,
could grab a
hello.
mic, but I was thinking of standing down there and pointing, because I did want to point for a bit.
Oh, we've got a clicker as well, so you can.
Oh, does this change the slides?
Yes.
Oh wow, we are like straight
Straight
on.
away. Yeah.
Well, we're the only ones with slides.
Is that a laser?
It is a laser on the top. Yeah. So.
Point us to the most
That
important person we can blind.
Oh my god, yeah. Ah yes. I've learned it all now.
Power
I
tools.
think I'll need the clicker because I need to flip between the slides. Unless go next slide, please. But I feel that's a little bit clunky.
But yeah, if you do want to use the microphones, the only thing about them is just don't use them around this one, because otherwise the feedback. Yeah.
But in that case, where do we have to stand around it? Is this good enough? Or probably
That
not?
should be fine, but you will be
I might go
blocking your
down.
own slides there. If you do want to stand down on the bottom, you can. Otherwise, what you could even do is when you come up, I'll mute this microphone and you both just grab one of those.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
think
can
we'll do.
also just hand over the microphone for easy.
Yeah, you can just do that. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll use mics. You'll pass it to me.
Make
and
sure
then,
to mute it.
and then
when I pass it over.
we'll just pass it.
No, mute it. So that
We're like, oh, is this thing working? No. And then
Classic line.
and then I'll probably use this to be fair. So I'll
Yeah.
go grab this as well because I have 2 slides. I think you have 1. So
Yeah. Cool. All right.
well, brilliant.
brilliant.
That was
Thanks for the
good
introduction. Yeah, I feel
all right.
excited now.
fun. Yeah.
Great to see you. You look sharp. Sharp as hell. You and me, us three. We're the sharp ones. Hi guys, good to see you. Where do I want you to sit? Are you on the panel? Because you're going to I'm not handing over to you. Yeah, when they slip, and then you're going to come up and do a sort of Very good, we will. Welcome. Please grab a seat if you haven't already. Welcome. How delightful to see you here this evening. I'm Chris Coleridge. I'm your host. I'm the chair of the Wolfson Entrepreneurship Hub, a fairly recently joined fellow and an associate professor at Judge Business School. I have my talking points here from Sean, but before I get onto them, I want to say a few words about why we're here. We're creating this year the Wolfson Enterprise Hub, or the Wolfson Entrepreneurship Hub, for the first time. I want to share with you 3 reasons why that we needed to do this. Firstly, as Jane will tell you, we're the best college in Cambridge, and therefore, thank you, exactly, and therefore we need to offer the best support for understanding entrepreneurship to our students. And I know I'm delighted to say that while King's is trying to make the running okay, well, don't get too excited, Carlos. But while King's is trying to make the running, we have the makings in this room. In fact, we have the makings of fulfilling our potential and across a multi-year push, really punching our weight and eventually above our weight in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in the university and in Cambridge more broadly. So your presence here tonight, whether you realized it or not, is showing your support for that ambition and that movement. So please pat yourself on the back for being part of something really potentially very important. Second reason that we need the Wolfson Entrepreneurship Hub, the Wolfson Enterprise Hub, is that the proportion of the world's talent that is devoted to solving new problems as opposed to executing solutions for old problems needs to be changed, right? We need the number of problems humanity is facing seems to be going up at quite a dizzying pace. And what do entrepreneurs do? Entrepreneurs find new ways to solve problems. Whether they do that on a sort of relatively pedestrian scale or whether they really dent the universe, well, that's up to them. But we need to equip the generations that are coming through Wolfson with the ability to be on the new ways of solving problem side of things rather than the ways of executing solutions to old problems. Third reason is that the world of work, as you all know, is fundamentally changing. In 30 years' time, there will be no jobs where you wake up in the morning and you know what you're going to do that day. right? Because if you have a job where you wake up in the morning and you know what you're going to do, that will be done by an AI. And so if we forget about whether there's the entrepreneurial intent from our students at Wolfson to start a business immediately or in 2 years or in 5 years, in 20 years and 30 years, you really won't have a choice but to be very comfortable with the idea that your day is uncertain and that the only way that you can add value to the world is by being a little bit unpredictable, right? So that's what we're all about. Now, we're a modest gathering. I'm looking forward to having dinner with you all and getting to know those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting a little better. But this is the seed. This is the seed. This is what we're going to grow something really significant for Wolfson and really significant for the university and really significant for society from. So thank you for being part of that. This is Global Entrepreneurship Week, by the way. So if this is your only entrepreneurship event this week, then make the most of it. I want to thank the steering group members who are attending. Michael O'Sullivan in particular got the ball rolling by sort of getting the competition off the ground in 2019, and we're going to hear from the 2022 winners and about their achievements in a moment. And although Ron John Nag is not here with us, I'd also like to say thank you to him. One of the ways we've been able to spin our entrepreneurship activities this year up is that we've got an excellent collaboration with King's, thanks to Jane and Lord David Sainsbury, that 8 of our students were able to take part in a residential program that King's is running, and they formed the nucleus of what is a fantastic 9-person student committee, 7 of whom are here with us this evening, and I hope, could everyone who's on the committee stand up, please? This is the engine that is driving Wolfson's increasing focus and increasing activity in entrepreneurship. And if you don't know these excellent people, I really hope you take the opportunity to chat to them this evening. And I want to thank them for their service to the college and their service to society through their involvement in in what we're doing. You can sit down. The costs at the moment are fairly modest, but those costs have been met by alumni donors, including donors who are sat here this evening. I haven't got permission to embarrass them, so I won't. But thank you very much for fully funding the pilot that we're running this year. And I will take the opportunity to mention that we have 5 scholarships for female entrepreneurs. Women in entrepreneurship coming from emerging economies and emerging countries, and that each of those awards is worth up to £50,000. So if you know either prospective female entrepreneurs from emerging economies, or if you're connected to bodies, organizations that are going to help us reach those people and tell them what's on offer at Wolfson, please do talk to me, talk to Sean, and we'll be happy to give you the details and help you spread the word, because it's really a very generous package of support, and we would like excellent candidates to take that up. And in future years, we're going to obviously, well, I think I've said enough about how this is the beginning of a multi-year push. And I want to welcome Opto Biosystems, Ben and Elise. Where are you, Ben and Elise? Excellent, right in front of me. And I'll shut up and pass the baton over to some real entrepreneurs who will tell you about their experience with the competition and what they've done since. Over to you.
No, not at all. No. I'm glad that you said, not knowing what you're doing or prepared to do in one day. I think Elise and I, if I can speak on behalf of you as well, don't know what we're doing in the next hour, and this event is a testament to that. So I haven't prepared anything. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what we are doing and where we've come from in the last year. I'll start with a fact. It's a little bit of a scary fact. The average cancer drug that's brought to patients at the moment, that is in real patients after billions and billions of dollars have been spent on those drugs, or the people that have to go through the clinical trials, it extends life in the real world by about 2.1 months. It's quite a harrowing, scary fact from Big Pharma. There are two, maybe three reasons for this, but the two primary reasons, at least I see, is one, the therapeutics actually kind of suck. They're quite bad, despite all that money that's pumped into them. Number two, closed loop or even open loop diagnostics are actually quite poor. So getting constant feedback from the patient on whether they're responding to drug, how they're responding to that drug, or any other intervention, surgical device, it's really bad as well. It takes 3-6 months. Nowhere is this more true than in glioma, where the patients tend to only live for 14 months. So a 6-month wait is really, really bad. Elise and I came at this from a slightly different angle. Elise was working on her PhD in neuro-oncology and bioelectronics here at Cambridge. I was working on my PhD in minimally invasive neural implants. We sort of came together with those two backgrounds and started developing tiny, tiny implants that can be put into the body and be used to measure the progression of tumors, of cancer, and also explore therapeutic options. So how can we actually use electrical energy to stop, inhibit the growth of that cancer? That was the seed of this company, where we started a year and a half ago. Since then, it feels like we've been working for about 10 years. It's actually only been 9 months since we got our first engineers. I guess the Wolfson competition was 2022, you said? March, yeah? So a year and a half ago, roughly, where we entered the Wolfson competition and were very humbled to win that competition, thanks to some people in this room. Jerry Wu, I know you're on that judgment panel, where the pitch was maybe a slightly more long-winded and less refined version of what I've just told you in 1 or 2 minutes. Since leaving that competition, we went out and started pitching and fundraising. Last December, we raised just shy of £2 million, built a team here in Cambridge with some remarkable people, people that are much more clever than me, probably not more clever than you, much more clever than me, which is the exact sort of people you want to surround yourself with. We've got a small team in the Bay Area as well, and we're now making that, that dream, that vision a reality, and we're running preclinical studies with a bunch of academic groups around the world. We have surgeons on board with us, and the thing is actually happening and coming into shape. I guess there's going to be a panel discussion where we're going to be asked of all the issues that we've come across and the problems and how we face them and all the disasters so far in the first 9 months, so I won't go into any of that. But that's a quick 5 minutes of what we've been doing and how that ties into Wolfson and the Entrepreneur Society at the moment.
Hello. Thank you very much. This is exactly the sort of incredible stuff that's going on here at Wolfson under my nose. I'm the head of the Wolfson Entrepreneurship Society. I've only just started, and I'm only here to quack for about 20 seconds to briefly talk about what we do. So we have an incredible group of mentors based off the incredible group of alumni that we have, some sitting here. We have a number of cool site visits where we get to see, I believe, I've been speaking to Mr. Jerry Wu about visiting Tuss Park. And of course, a ton of sort of workshops and speaker events. And the reason why we're here, of course, the business competition. And this year we're trying to be quite a bit more ambitious about the business competition. But even in past years, it's been quite impressive at what we've done. I mean, of course, we can't take too much credit, but I'd like to think that, there was some value and that the Wolfson could provide to what this is you're going to, which is absolutely absurd. So if we can start on that path, well, I'll pass over to our treasurer, Ollie, who will go into greater detail about the competition itself.
Fantastic. Are you able to...
Yes.
If you stand the other side, you'll catch the microphone.
Oh, perfect. I'll just do that.
Also hand you the clicker.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, yeah. Okay. This was just a very high-level overview of what Lawrence just said. We're going to be doing a business competition, which I'm going to talk through very quickly in the next couple of seconds. But we also have a mentorship program as well, where we're reaching out to alumni to really help some of the Wolfson students at the moment get through our business competition. And then finally, events and activities that we'll be running throughout the year, which we are starting to unveil as well as we go through the year. So really exciting stuff. But for what I'm going to talk about is the business competition. So I'm going to first talk about the structure and the timelines of the competition, and then I'm going to talk about the prize categories as well that we have for this year. So we are opening the competition up for everyone across the university, so whether you're a current student or if you're an alumni and you want to participate, you can. As long as one member of the team is part of the University of Cambridge, you're able to join our competition. And we will be opening applications up in the next week or so, and that will be followed by a marketing campaign as well across the university. And then the submissions will close in January, as you can see on the timeline there. What we'll do is we'll look through all of the business plans that have been proposed, check all the information is there, and then we'll send them over to our judging panel. For the last few years, we've had a really, really fantastic judging panel. We've had really high-profile members, and we're going to continue that this year with 6 to 8 judges on our panel for this year. And they're going to look through all of the business plans that have been submitted, and they're going to select their favourite ones, and then we're going to invite those applicants to our finale day next March, which will be on Sunday the 17th of March next year. And this will be a day of pitching and presenting, followed by networking and also prize giving as well. And we've already heard from the Opto Biosystems team some fantastic stuff that they've managed to achieve in, I think it was 9 months or 1.5 years. It's really incredible stuff. And we're also really excited by more previously a winner of this year's competition, Hype Setters. And they're looking at combining data science and AI with influencers campaigns. And we both know those are two really big kind of trends at the moment, and they're working at the intersection of those, which is really, really exciting. So we're looking forward to updating you all on the progress that they're making in the next couple of years. But moving on to the actual prizes. So we're still currently fundraising and looking for sponsorship and donations for the prizes at the moment. We're working alongside the development team at Wolfson to secure some of that funding, and we've already got thousands in our prize pot at the moment, which will be deployed across these different categories. So we've got a general prize for overall a really strong business plan and business pitch. We've also got a climate change prize, which is looking at businesses who are trying to solve the climate crisis and trying to get us to net zero. We also have a global health prize, which is focused on companies that are really trying to improve the quality and quantity of treatments available to patients. And then finally, we have the female founder prize. And this is for businesses that have a female founder or co-founder. All those businesses will be eligible. So these are the prizes that we're looking to give next March. And this is a fantastic opportunity for businesses or alumni to get involved and support providing pre-seed funding and support the next kind of generation of innovation at Wolfson. And I think the final thing I wanted to say as well, before we pass back over, is if anyone is interested in donating to our prizes this year, or know anyone who's interested, then please get in touch with us, and we're happy to talk to you and see what that could look like for this competition and also future ones as we scale up and ramp up, as Chris mentioned. So thank you for listening to this very brief introduction. We're all happy to have any questions that you want to fire at us later on in the evening, so please come and approach us. But I hope you have a lovely evening, and we'll hand over to Chris, I think.
So the next phase is a panel. I discovered that I don't have a chair. They're all linked together. Thank you. I'll put mine here, please. Can I invite members of the panel to come and take some of these? I'll sit at this end. Thank you. Please have a seat. We can move that up if we-
Oh, fine, yes.
Welcome. You see, I'd have thought if you're coming in, you'd walk to the furthest seat. I'm a scientist. You know we do these things. Anyway, welcome. For those who don't know me, I'm Jane Clark, President of Wolfson, and I just want to pay credit to everybody in this room who from the very beginning has been involved in the entrepreneurship at Wolfson. It started. When did we start, Michael? An entrepreneur society.
Just before the pandemic.
Just before the pandemic, and to give our students the opportunity to develop entrepreneurial skills no matter what they do is to me really important. And it seems to me that no matter whether they become an entrepreneur or whatever they do, having the skills of entrepreneurship must be valuable to anybody. So we've met Ben. Would you, Elsie, would you like to introduce yourself, just so other people know who you are? If you push the thing up.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Is that working? Okay. So hi, I'm Elise. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Great. So I'm Elise. A very quick background about me. I come from an electronic engineering. I'm from Australia, if you can't tell from my accent. I moved to the UK a number of years ago. I was working in industry for Siemens for a few years as an engineer in product. Came to do my PhD here in Cambridge in 2019 in the bioelectronics lab, and my PhD was really focused on looking at neuro-oncology, but from an electrical engineering perspective, so really trying to understand what was happening electrically in these cancers in the brain. And then now the CTO and co-founder of OptoBio, and really enjoying the ride that it is.
And I understand that you're a Woman in Business Award winner as well.
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you.
Congratulations. You've met Chris, Evelyn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me, Jane. My name's Evelyn Tishy. I'm also a Wolfson alumni. I did my PhD here from 2009 to 2013. I actually founded my first company during my undergrad before I came to Cambridge, and then spent a couple of years post-PhD trying to escape biochemistry by going and being a management consultant and getting a bit more of a grounding in sort of businessy things. We then founded a medical services company serendipitously at the beginning of 2020, very quickly pivoted into a lot of COVID-related services, and now we're back to what we were planning at the beginning, which is generalized medical services. I've sort of left that company aside a bit at the moment. I was just there last week, sort of helping them out a bit, but now I work for a venture builder where we are trying to sort of accelerate the scale-up of new businesses, predominantly in the healthcare services area.
And you're an alumna of Wolfson?
Yes, I am an alumna of Wolfson.
Yeah, I'm an alumni of Wolfson as well. I started my career as a derivatives trader and kind of lost my soul a bit, got a bit sick, and decided to set up a corporate finance firm with my partner who's at the back. So we set that up 7 years ago. And then 2 years ago, we set up a private equity fund which looks to invest into diverse founders. So I'm an entrepreneur and also work with a lot of long-suffering entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you for coming, and you're all sort of involved in some respects in the entrepreneurship competition, which is what we're trying to launch tonight. And so, Chris, could you just start off? We've always had before just in it to win it, and a runner-up, sort of the audience choice runner-up. But this year you've chosen to really launch along specific themes.
The committee has chosen that, and I've been fascinated to see among my MBA students at the Judge that people don't seem to want to do businesses that don't have a bigger social purpose anymore. That's not what you expect to hear about MBA students, but it really seems to be something which now that's the standard, and so we thought it would be helpful to recognize achievement in these grand challenge areas.
And how did you? I mean, you've been really interested in. You just said in diverse funders. So Why do you think that's important that we should be pushing that? I mean, surely if you're a business person, she says, a scientist, you just care about money. You know, you just care about what makes money. Why should we be caring about female founders, for instance?
I mean, I think, you know, the organizations and companies should be reflective of the societies they operate within. So that's number one. So that's kind of the non-financial aspect, I guess. From a financial perspective, there's a massive lost cost of not investing in diversity. So, for example, I think according to British Business Bank statistic, only 6% of VC funding goes to startups with a female founder, and only 2% of funding goes to all-female teams. So, I mean, for me, I mean, that's a massive lost opportunity, and, you know, people see things differently, they solve for things differently. So I think, you know, if you look at the kind of financial case for investing in diversity, it's very, very strong.
I've always sort of said about education, if you have an education system which discriminates against this, look at all that talent you lose. Elise, I mean, having won this Women in Business Award, do you think, I mean, it's an amazing thing to win. Did it make a difference to you, feeling that you know, being a woman in business was appreciated?
I certainly think that more recognition of these, of women in business or women in certain roles that are traditionally not common, are definitely useful for younger generations to be able to recognize that women can be entrepreneurs, they can be all of these things at a young age, where they're impressionable. And really this is super important that they can see that there are these mentors, there are these role models that they can recognize. So of course it's definitely useful from like empowering the next generation of women, for sure, yes.
And you know, Evelyn, how important do you think mentorship is then? I mean, you say you're now doing venture capital. You know, you are one of these people that aren't investing, or you may be, in businesses that we heard of. Having been a woman in business, how important? I mean, one of the things that we want to do here is offer mentorship. How important do you think that is?
I mean, quite frankly, I think I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for some of the fantastic mentors I've had. But I think the important thing about mentorship is for it to be diverse mentorship. So I think my female mentors, and sort of, I think coming back to your point, right, seeing the people above you and having that sort of role model that you want to aspire to is really important. And having female mentors that understand your specific, maybe female-specific issues you're having is incredibly valuable. But equally, you need mentors from the other side of the equation as well, right? And actually one of my strongest and most treasured mentors, if you like, is very much a, you know, 65-year-old white Oxbridge educated banker, right? And actually his perspective on how business works has been equally valuable. So I would very much encourage people to use their networks here at Wolfson. I think some of the most valuable mentoring I've got are because of my Wolfson networks. And, you know, to make sure that you're drawing that from varied perspectives.
Chris, maybe I can ask you, I mean, you mentioned mentorship in this thing. Do you think that if we've got a Wolfson student here tonight, or when we advertise this, we will be able to offer every Wolfson student who wants to go into this competition the opportunity to prepare their pitch, to produce a good business plan, to give them this opportunity to come into this program?
Yes, we have 170 alumni who volunteer to be mentors. So I think I can say confidently that we will be able to offer mentorship, and the bottleneck is rather on the other side. And I'm looking to all of you in this room to help us bring fantastic teams and fantastic founders into the competition for those 170 alumni to mentor. And I want to really echo Evelyn's point about, you know, it's about the mix, right? It's about having people around you who help you as a founder look at the problem from different perspectives. Because by the time you become a founder, it's too late to start taking a bunch of new courses or trying to follow some new blogs that give you new skill sets. You've got to rely on having a group of advisors who are going to help you see your blind spots and are going to help you realize that, okay, there generally is, as long as you stay calm and make good decisions at speed, there generally is a way through the trials of entrepreneurship.
Ben, did you have much help, support from mentors? I mean, tell us about your experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, both of us have had tons and tons of insights from mentors. I honestly don't think you can do it any other way. For me personally, and I think for the company, our most powerful mentors have been people that are a few steps ahead of us. You know, they're not often for us 65-year-old bankers who probably know very well how business works. They're people who are running biotech companies or medical device companies or tech companies that have just raised their Series A or Series B round, or have done it a couple of times and are doing it again, and understand acutely the exact challenges that we're going through right now because they've just recently done it in the same world that you live in. And we've had a ton of those people. And on top of that, I think the group of investors we have, like, select your investors really, really well, and they will be like some of your closest advisors and mentors. And for us, that's been the case. They've been wonderful at like getting us through and connecting us with the right people.
So I mean, you're into finance. So what advice, I mean, how do you think that our mentors could support those coming in about how to make a pitch that gets you investment? I mean, what makes that?
I think a very loaded, difficult question, that.
Wouldn't be Cambridge if it wasn't difficult.
I think actually thinking about the exit, like, what are you going to do with this? A lot of people set up businesses that they have a personal passion for, or they're solving for, like, I don't know, they like spicy omelets or something. So like, I'm going to set up a spicy omelet shop. But it's, okay, what are you going to do with this? What is your exit strategy? So I think the thing that we miss the most when we look at investment decks and startups that are pitching to us is like, okay, what is your journey? What are you going to do with this afterwards? What is your exit? So I think shaping some of the discussion around that is important. And also, like, just informing the entrepreneur that, look, entrepreneurship is a journey. It's not like Social Network, the movie, where you kind of wake up one day, you have this amazing idea, put a pitch together, you meet an angel investor, and then 3 years later you're a billionaire. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things which it strikes me that I don't know that we think about how we do this well enough at Wolfson, is to exploit our extraordinarily diverse, internationally diverse group of students. Some of you may not yet know, but we have students from 99 different countries in Wolfson at the moment. How do you think that we might use the Entrepreneur Society and to encourage and enable people to look for business opportunities and questions that need solving, problems that need solving, outside the sort of almost high-tech, high-spec, for rich people things that we're dealing with? Because it seems to me, social justice, who's it for, that we should find ways to encourage and support enterprise outside Cambridge. And if I could say, is any students here from the MasterCard Foundation, funded by the MasterCard Foundation? I know Sheila, you are. Okay. So we have 2 students here funded by the MasterCard Foundation, one last year, one this year. And the MasterCard Foundation explicitly wants to support entrepreneurship in Africa. Do you think there's anything through this competition or just for the enterprise society itself, that we could support that, and particularly some social enterprises? Long question. Too many questions in one, James. But Chris, shall I give you that for one?
Yes,
And
I'll
maybe ask the others who have been students at Wolfson how they might think about that.
The research shows that if you don't think about going international in your first year, you're much, much less likely to do it. And so part of what we've got the opportunity to do at Wolfson through the mentors and through other activities that we're running is to help people broaden the scope of their ambition. And that's always painful for entrepreneurs because they've got this tension between doing the jobs that are right in front of them that have to be done in order to get through the next stage gate, and holding on to this sort of broader vision of the way that they can make change in the world. And sometimes the day-to-day drags you down and gets you away from the vision, but the work that you do at the beginning to shape that vision, and as you're suggesting, on a really global scale, can be fantastic. And then, our 99 nationalities, we've got to, as a society and as a hub, provide the best and most generalizable skills offerings, training and offerings, so that people are able to come and get that knowledge that they need to be able to drive business, no matter what their sort of context is, not just in a not just sort of focused purely on, well, if you want to please Silicon Valley investors, this is what you do, but going further.
Can I perhaps pick that up? So I've just been in Georgia this week, as in the country, not the state in the US, giving a talk about choosing your co-founders for an entrepreneurship program there. And I've spent the last 10 years of my life being an international healthcare expert along, the full spectrum of development of countries' healthcare systems. And I think you make a very good point, which is that the skills that we learn in an entrepreneurship competition need to be not necessarily specific to pleasing Silicon Valley investors. And I would say that 90% of the skills that you learn through a competition like this are agnostic to which country you're in, which regulatory environment you're in, what sort of funding models you have or business models you have. And those are incredibly valuable skills. I think, in Western, very financially developed, let's call it, countries, like the UK or the US, we tend to focus very heavily on a sort of big exit, right? And I think what I learned from the entrepreneurs in Georgia this week was that most of them aren't thinking about a big exit. They're able to start a business with something like £100 of investment there. And they're not thinking, I'm going to have a big exit. They're thinking, I'm going to expand to Azerbaijan and Turkey within the next 2 years, and I'm still going to be running this business, 20, 30 years down the line, right? So I think sometimes we need to remember that just because the way we run things in the UK or the US is let's go for a big exit and have all these giant investors and all of this massive funding rounds and stuff, it's not necessarily how the rest of the world works.
Any insights? But you haven't chosen, and maybe I'll open the floor to questions from the floor in one moment, but I notice you haven't chosen to have a social enterprise category.
All enterprises are social enterprises. That's I know it could be considered to be controversial, but if you're creating value for customers and providing them with a better way of solving their problems, you're improving their lot. If you're simultaneously improving the lot of the other stakeholders in your business, then you're following the sort of prosperity model of Colin Barrow from Side Business School. If you're just focused on your customers and your shareholders, it's a bit of a missed opportunity, but it's still a valuable thing to do in society. I think with the climate and global health focuses, we are sort of recognizing that these are two areas that people really want to devote their time, their one precious life on this planet, and make a difference to people. And I think our competition winners over here are a good example of that's a social enterprise as far as I'm concerned.
And I have one more question. Sorry, still in time. Ben and Elise, I remember you giving your pitch and all this thing. And I've been going around telling people that you have this dinky little device that let you insert it in the spine, and you're talking about much broader things now. How quickly has your sort of initial idea, because what you were describing, it seems to be far broader than what your initial idea. Was your initial idea that you're pitching relatively limited, but you had all these big ideas, or has your vision literally grown in the 18 months that we saw you start off?
I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B. We had big tech ideas in a very narrow focus at the beginning, and now we have lots of problems that we want to solve with an underlying technology. We have both the benefit and the curse of trying to solve a lot of problems, and we have clinicians coming to us and research groups coming to us saying, like, we can do it here, we can do it here, we can do it in this cancer, we can do it in this, and let's do it in traumatic brain injuries, because you're essentially using the same technology stack, which is great, but also we're only a small team of people and we only have finite resources, so we can't do all of that. But I think that encouraged perhaps some of the original ideas that we had of how big it could be and how many things we could treat to this larger story and thinking larger and more globally about what we're doing.
And maybe the role of a mentor is to say, stop now, concentrate, or move forward.
Yeah, I mean, we have we sort of have stage-gated projects where, you know, we have like leading indications that we're working on, and we have a pipeline of indications that we put a little bit of time into, but not too much, and we kill the ones that aren't working very well, and we push forward harder with the ones that do work well.
I was just going to add that a lot of the development from what our initial concept was to what it is now and is still developing comes from the feedback that we get from clinicians, right? We went to them with this concept-based device, and they were like, how am I going to put that in the body? How are we going to regulate that device? How is a patient going to use it? What are your users going to do with this device? And so you really have to think not just about the technology and the problem that you're trying to solve, but like how someone will actually interface that technology, how someone will use it, how are you going to ship it across the world and get that implanted in a hospital in the US or somewhere else? Like those are major considerations that you have in a development for a medical device. And that's something that definitely went into the involvement of our like rethinking how we deploy these medical devices.
We're the classic engineers. We're like, look how cool this is on the pitch.
Look exactly tiny. Look how cool this is on the pitch. I remember that. Okay, I'm sure that some of you would like to either give your opinion or ask a question of the panel, or yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question for Ben and Elise. Obviously, you've started quite recently in like the grand scheme of things, so I'm curious, what are the biggest things that you've learned in that period? And that's probably a generic question, but if you don't want to answer that, the other thing I was going to ask was, you mentioned a lot about problem solving. What is your approach to problem solving? Like, have you got a way of thinking about things that is quite interesting, or could you talk a bit about that?
Say, at least I've got a problem. How do I solve this? You can take your first one on things we've learned. I mean, we were talking about this just earlier, like so many. I mean, you go in so naively. I mean, like Elise was just saying, you go in being like, build it and they will come with a technology, and that is just not the case. There's an entire system behind healthcare that you have to plug into. How hard some of the general operational things of the company were going to be. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be getting to do any tech development. I think you thought you were going to be doing some tech development, and we're both working like double hours every week. Neither one of us is doing tech development. Everyone else is doing it.
I think on the problem solving, for me anyway, what I've noticed is as an engineer, you see the problem and you want to solve it straight away. Like you want to try everything that you can do in a circuit, for example, to try and solve the circuit to get it to do what you want it to do. And one thing that has changed, I think, in my mind, and like the thinking is more strategic. So it's not like you try and solve the problem immediately. You actually really break the problem down, and you spend time to actually think about what are the impact of, like, what impact is making this design choice going to have in 5 years, 10 years, not like in 1 month. So it's having to think more long term about some of the problem solving in terms of tech. That's definitely been a big learning curve for me, who I just want to solve the problem straight away, and really you got to think, what is the long term impact of that that solution? So that's probably one piece.
Any other or comments from the audience? Or so at the back, please. Yes. Sorry.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for organising. Hi, Dr. John. I'm Wolfson alumni as well, and proudly so. Really great to see the diversity on stage, but also the breadth of your ambition with the prize, which is amazing. My question is, how far do you want to go with that support piece? And I'd love to unbox what we mean by impact a little bit. So, and maybe offer you something. So, I work in healthcare. I lead a digital health lab that has just been launched within our integrated care system, and that is born of one of the frustrations is that I'm seeing a very limited number of healthcare innovations, predominantly coming from the life sciences space. That I think got us sourced out a little bit more. There's so much smaller breadth. There are way too few coming through from an impact delivery perspective. And so what we're doing on our side is saying, well, how do we improve our ability to translate those technologies into practice? So we're launching a digital champion program in which companies can access experts in regulation, experts in IG, experts in clinical safety devices, so that it doesn't have to come all from the company. And so what I would say is, with this amazing network that you have and reach that you have, healthcare is a very interesting model, because if you can deliver it in the UK, it's quite likely that you've crossed a lot of the regulatory, technical and safety hurdles to then deliver it at scale or in parallel in other countries. So I think it's a great opportunity there. Do you have the appetite to pull in mentorship later in the life cycle? Or are you kind of doing that early, very, very early seed funding?
Wow, great question. I think we're focused on students who are currently here for now. But I think what you've described is a fascinating horizon for what we could do. We've got an ambition to create a clearinghouse type list where we understand all the Wolfson affiliated, of Wolfson alumni driven ventures that are raising money, and sort of have a database of that as a potential way of sort of understanding what support could be provided through the Wolfson community for those folks. So maybe let's talk. Maybe there's a way to bring those ideas together.
And if I could make one comment, sorry, but I can make a comment that we have significant number of researchers in global health internationally in college, and I think trying to link those members of the Global Health Hub and then doing on-the-ground research in healthcare systems, bringing that into within the entrepreneurship and giving those researchers some of these entrepreneurial skills that you're talking about and these networks would be of value. Please.
Right, can I say I didn't understand a word of what you said? I'm really sorry. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a teacher. But I'm absolutely fascinated with this. And this is the question. Are you doing what you are doing to make money, to change society, or solve problems?
I feel like if it was fundamentally to make money, there are a lot easier ways to make money than to develop a brain implant that solves cancer. Like there's much easier ways to make money. I think why I'm doing this is because I'm incredibly frustrated about the way that we've been approaching some of these diseases has not changed for 25 years, 30 years. Like we're making a drug, we're putting it in preclinical models, we're getting it to clinical trial, and they don't work and they fail. And so we have to think about it differently. And so what I'm hoping, the goal of this is that we develop something that can actually be delivered and used and benefit the patient in a way that hasn't been done before. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? There's a lot of easier ways to make money.
Evelyn, why did you go into business?
I can only echo that. There are a lot easier ways to make money than to start your own business. I think I always like to say that sort of founding a company is a bit like the highest, scariest roller coaster you've ever been on. It's incredibly exhilarating, but also terrifying. And if I were just in it to make out money, I would skip the terrifying bits and just, coast a bit more. For me, I'm someone who's incredibly frustrated with how healthcare is provided to our population. And so what my company does at the moment is we're trying to close those gaps, right? So we're not a sexy health tech company. We haven't got any apps. There's no sort of IT product development in our box. It's all boots on the ground, actually providing healthcare to underserved patients in Germany, actually, come to think of it. But so I think for me as well, I think I'm very mission driven as well. Do I believe that I should be making a fair profit on that and getting paid for what I do because I'm not a charity? Yes. Do I want to be making millions? Not necessarily.
If you do, you could donate something.
Yeah.
With
Look.
Simon, he's helped me out. Simon will happily speak to you. Oman, can I ask you about, because you're in finance.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a profit motive, but like Evelyn and Elise said, it shouldn't be the sole purpose. But I think that we have to be cognizant that entrepreneurs, they do, even if they're solving for a problem, there has to be some sort of financial motive. Otherwise, I don't think things would get funded, especially perhaps some of the bigger issues that face humanity from a global health perspective or climate change perspective. I do think there has to be that kind of financial incentive, because you can't, it's an opportunity cost. If you're a bright, young PhD student from Wolfson or Cambridge, you could do many, many things. Why would you want to break your back solving the world's problems when you could go to Goldman Sachs and earn like millions of pounds?
Any more questions? There's lots of you first, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to your point, Jane, about the international community at Wolfson. So I was a student here at Wolfson. I loved that international community. And this is less of a question than a comment and suggestion of something that I would love to see for the Entrepreneurship Society here, which is to, entrepreneurship, I often think of it being toward that business creation side, and it's sort of down the road, right? So you're creating a business, you're already thinking about exit. But if we step back and actually maybe even have events around what are the different problems in different communities around the world, and to have students come together to share what are some of the issues and what are also some of the solutions. Because in seeing solutions and seeing examples of solutions from around the world, it gets us thinking about, could we apply that here, or how could we evolve that? And so if I were to be a student here again, that's the kind of event or series of events I would love to see and participate in, where you get students together from around the world, and there's no real sort of objective other than to share the problems and existing solutions.
Aaron, you really sound like a volunteer to me.
I'd like to go to that event. Sheila, you had your hand up.
Yes, most of the conversation tonight has been around global public health, but in entrepreneurship, to the panel, do you think about, you have, I know it's a big issue solving and running a startup and making it successful, but do you consider climate change and sustainability, and when you're seeking out mentors, do you look at mentors who look into, the end product or the life cycle of a product, for example, the impact? And just to challenge you and to ask you if that's a topic or a consideration that you have currently in your businesses.
There's a little bit around that, I guess. First thing to say, I guess, is on the climate impact of a company. You do have a climate impact. You do have a carbon footprint. And we have to fly and meet surgeons, and we have some pretty strict rules in our founding documents around both like gender diversity initiatives and around climate impacts and monitoring what we do from day one, so that the company doesn't get out of hand really quickly and we end up with a company of 95% dudes working on engineering medical problems, flying around the world 24 hours a day, polluting in the name
of health, right? You're solving one problem and causing a ton more. You know, on the actual materials that we use to manufacture the device, I mean, we're talking very low volume here, and there are materials that we have to use. We have to use like a plastic in our device. And I think that it's justified in our case. So we don't think about it in the product side when we're looking at like 1,000 teeny tiny units. But in terms of the impact of the company, we do.
So I would say in the companies that I've been working with in the last year or so, that's very much on brand, right? So I think most companies that are being founded now that I know of, that I've worked with, are considering climate impact metrics from the very beginning of their founding. Right, to give you a very basic and practical example, right, when we started having to drive lots of people around to do some, to provide medical services in the community, there was absolutely no discussion or question about the fact that we would be using electric vehicles and we would be using second-hand electric vehicles, right? So I think lots of companies approach it in a similar way, but I'll let Chris maybe speak to what the program in more general sense.
Well, look, I mean, on the side of my academic work, I founded a climate tech venture builder called Carbon 13. Some of you may have run across, which has made 65 investments in climate tech, pre-seed investments in climate tech ventures over the past 2 years. And, you know, it's a complex subject, but in a way, every venture, if you're a climate tech venture, you've got to say, well, we're not thinking about unicorns, we're thinking about carbon unicorns, right? We're thinking about how can we drive change that really moves the needle, and not just be sort of conscious of climate impact, but bake it into the innovation that we're running. If you're not specifically doing, you know, if you're not one of those and you're not specifically on that mission, I think the way that it's been described as not, let's not make things worse, is a great ambition. Entrepreneurs can't solve every problem at once, so they've got to sort of work within the framework that they've got.
Because you're interested in sustainability. Is that right?
Yeah, I think our focus on sustainability is from a diversity perspective. So social impact, promoting female entrepreneurship, ethnic minority entrepreneurship, and also looking at the class divide, which I think is not really spoken about too much, and encouraging entrepreneurship in those communities, because as I said before, I mean, there is a massive opportunity cost and there's a financial cost to the economy at large. I think the key thing with that sort of social impact sustainability is, you know, you back the right entrepreneur, you know, female founder, but there has to be at least sustainability neutral underlying their business case. So there's no point in investing into a female founder if they're developing chemical weapons or something, right? So it's that sort of a mindset. So it has to be a holistic approach.
Well, we've got loads. You've been waiting for a long time. Sorry.
Well, these are all very lofty questions. I have something much more mundane, which Ben touched on earlier, which is about the time spent when you're running a business, not actually doing your business. And I spend a lot of time doing accounts, it seems, and this sort of thing. How do you tackle that? Or do you just work long hours and suck it up?
I think that comes back to mentorship, right? That it's a lifestyle choice. It isn't easy. It's a journey that you're going to have to wear different hats. You know, sometimes when I work with entrepreneurs, or even, you know, members of my team, you know, you almost become a counselor. Like the amount of times someone calls me at 11 p.m. and like, you know, this is happening in my business. I'm like, you know, it's 11 o'clock. So I think it's, I think that's where mentorship comes in, and it's, you know, it isn't. I think entrepreneurship is very, very fulfilling, but it isn't as glamorous as it's made out in some circles. And you know, I think once folk understand that, they'll be in better stead.
That's good advice. I'm not going to let any other people speak, but just because there's people from here, so just some more comments. Yes, Ian.
Hi, Ian. I own an AI company with cognitive and Gen AI. I don't want to talk about that, but what I'd love to understand is we're about to invest significant amounts of money into what we call longevity. So maybe a question to Chris or maybe anybody else. How is the judge, or even how is Wolfson thinking about longevity? Our vision is that how do we help people live longer, healthier lives? We think we can do it using our algorithms, but what's the judge doing to really think about the next trend, which I firmly believe is longevity? What are you guys thinking about it? How are you working on it?
It's a fascinating area.
Question for the end.
It's a fascinating area. That might be another dinner question. You should meet Ron John Nag, who is very concerned with the longevity area, and is a sort of stalwart of all of our enterprise ambitions here in Wolfson. I was hearing a presentation from some MBA students earlier today, based on the reality that in the UK, a higher and higher proportion every year of 65-year-olds have more than one chronic health condition. So I think it's important that we focus our work in longevity not just on how can the 1% live longer, but how can we bring longevity to society as a whole, which I'm sure is what you had in mind.
Yeah, we're going to produce a platform, hopefully, that will go for the mass affluent to start with. Right? We're not going for the 1%, which is a waste of time, because they can afford it anyway.
Indeed.
So it's all about prevention rather than cure, which doesn't seem to be a big thing in the UK. I don't live here, I live in Singapore, but in Singapore they've really adopted these blue zones. Right? You probably may have seen the Netflix series. It's fun, but not very relevant. But I'd love to. When I come to the UK, I don't feel a lot of let's figure out prevention rather than cure. I see it much more in emerging markets, right? Prevention rather than cure.
Jerry, you've had your hand up for a while. What I want to say is I think we're going to have to go for dinner. There aren't drinks before dinner. I apologise. I don't apologise. There just are no drinks for dinner. There were drinks there. I'm going to encourage you all of you who are coming to dinner, to we'll go up for dinner and then the bar will be open afterwards. So you can support Wolfson Enterprise by going and buying very cheap beer in the bar. We even charge entrepreneurs not very much pint, but also to take that opportunity then to mix and meet. I'd like to thank Sian and her team for organising this today. I want to say congratulations to the Enterprise Committee that they applied for their positions on this course. We're expecting really big things from you. No pressure. No pressure, so okay. Thank you to all the committee. Thank you to all the sponsors of the Entrepreneurship Society. And thank you for all those who are doing mentoring. And I'm looking forward to this competition. I really hope that for the third year running, a Wolfson student will be in the winning team.
It may well happen. I have to add one more thank you, because where it says sponsorship secured for this category, it's Omar's private equity fund that has provided that sponsorship. And I'm sure we would all like to thank him for the...
That's really saying put your money where your mouth is, isn't it? It's fantastic. Thank you for being here. I hope it's been a whiz through, but it's been brilliant. It's great to see this. I hope that you all think that this is something that it's really worth Wolfson investing its time to support this. I hope our students feel that